Hello everyone at another Linkhouse webinar. First of all, I would like to introduce our amazing guest, Helene Jelens. Hello, Helene.
Hello.
So I've prepared a short introduction about you. Helene Jelens, American in Slovenia, anthropologist turned SEO expert, over a decade of experience optimizing B2B software websites. Started as a blogger and got into SEO. During the pandemic, she decided to make a career change and start a business. Speaker at Brighton SEO, SEO Estonia, Zagreb SEO Summit, published author in search engine journal BuzzSumo. So did I forget about something? Is everything correct?
I think that's correct. Yeah, you can find me pretty much anywhere. Anyone will let me talk about SEO.
Yeah, so that's perfect, and I think that you gave us some really interesting thoughts across your knowledge. So I think we can go straight to the point, Helene, and let's begin with your presentation, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. All right. Hello, everyone. If you've seen me speak this year, seen any of my presentations, webinars, you'll probably hear a little snippet of things that you've heard before. But basically, I wanted to round up all of the learnings that basically I've made in the past couple of years, studying, researching, and optimizing landing pages for B2B SaaS companies. Already had a great introduction. I'm not going to bore you guys with that. I am an SEO consultant at Flow Agency, and so we work with B2B SaaS, and so that's sort of my little specialty for SEO. It's something that I love. So in marketing, we all have the similar issue, similar challenge that the total addressable market is much larger than that's actively buying. And oftentimes we're going to see organic doing the total addressable market, the top of the funnel, and PPC doing, actively buying bottom of the funnel strategies. Problem with that is that bottom, paying for clicks on PPC is getting expensive. And wouldn't it be great to be able to find people who maybe don't know who you are, but is looking for your offering from different angles, and they are actively buying. These are high intent users, and so I wanted to see what does it take to rank these pages, and how are they different from ranking a blog post or a long form content. So just to sort of set that frame, I know this is a little antithetical to the funnel. We have the funnel that goes, to the bottom. We have the bottom funnel. Keywords are transactional ones. And this, I sort of took the bottom and then flipped it. So as your awareness goes up, the more someone is going to reach your brand. So if someone's fully aware, they're going to know MailChimp, Adobe, ClickUp. If somebody is category aware, maybe they're looking for an email marketing software, photo editing software, project management software. But there's another layer below that, below your product category, and it's features, solutions, industries, use cases, any of these things where we can capture these longer tail keywords such as email marketing for lawyers, mobile phone editing, team management project software. And so we can get really, really specific for SEO and rank these pages in this area. And so what does this look like? If someone is looking conversation intelligence, we'll see here that HubSpot is ranked in the first spot here of organic results, just the two ads above. And we're going to show a really great example of how they achieve this through this conversation. But just wanted to show an example. Somebody maybe doesn't know HubSpot, but they know they need conversation intelligence. They enter that into search, boom, HubSpot. So how did this all start? I became obsessed with wanting a swipe file to look at landing pages. I was collecting landing pages from any software company. I started looking at them, wanted to see, for feature pages, how long are these pages? How many referring domains do they have? And I thought the data was interesting, but it wasn't enough. After looking at thousands of pages, locked down about 112 of the best ones and just started studying them. So some of these URLs I've been following for well over 2 years now. The main project that we released earlier this year at Flow. I spearheaded this project. We looked at these 112 pages, broke them down to their product categories. Oh, this isn't playing, sorry. This is supposed to be animated, nice little chart. But so we have the content marketing, customer engagement, data management, HR software, project management software. And then we looked at referring domains, backlinks, keywords, word count, those things that we can control. Also did a cross-section, product feature pages versus industry versus solution pages. So we took all these pages and found new ways to splice and dice and try to understand what is going on there. Where can we get interesting insights? You can head over to the site and download the full study there if you're curious and you want to dig into it, but we're going to talk a little bit about what came out of that study. And so we're going to dive into the 10 learnings and insights for transactional landing pages. First one, my favorite one, word count matters less than you think. In our study, when we looked at the landing pages across different product categories, the most interesting line for me is that median word count. Now, I used median because if we used average, it was getting highly skewed from those few pages that were just really outliers. So looking at the median, it's pretty much under 1,000 here across the categories, and that is great. That's fantastic to know for the writers, you know, for whoever is responsible for making that page. If we split it by page types, we also see the same pattern. And so right off the bat, this is something that I've seen across the board, that product pages, feature pages, industry solution, they can be very short. These users oftentimes know exactly what they're looking for. They're ready to buy. They don't need the whole, like, what is invoicing software? They know what it is. They're looking for it. So help them with information that's going to help that purchase. Examples, Druva Enterprise Cloud Backup, less than 700 words, ranked in the 2nd position. Fantastic example. 488 words to sell Workday's budgeting and forecast solution. 488 words. That's crazy. In SEO, we're used to talking about like 1,200, 2,000, 3,000, sometimes more. So I get excited when I see these really, really low word count articles. Now, this is a very sad example of someone who didn't realize that they were winning at not having a lot of word count. So Copy AI back in June 2023, they were ranked in the 2nd position for AI email writer. They have lost that drastically. They've dropped 27 positions. I just took this screenshot a couple days ago. They still have not recovered. They held this position for a very long time. They were in the top 3, top 5, and now they're all the way down. You know, that's really low rankings from holding that position for a long time. What did they do? Added a lot of text to the page. So that's 1,098 words on the page when I looked at it then, compared to 170. And so what happened though is if you actually go and look at this page and see what they did, there was a lot of content added that wasn't specific to AI email writer. It was specific to a Copy AI's product, but it diluted the content that was on the page. And this is an absolute shame. This keyword is exploding. It had a 367% increase year over year. And when I took this screenshot, I think this was June, it was 4.2K. It's at 4.7K now. So it's only increasing. And maybe one day they'll see this and remove some of those words. Find the quiet spaces. So everyone knows the product feature pages. Industry and solution pages are something that I find very, very exciting. The keywords are less competitive. From the data set that we had, our industry and solution page, median difficulty, significantly less than the feature and product pages. You'll also see that the median keyword volume is also lower, and that is fine. When we have this very high intent transactional keywords, it's okay to have a very low search volume. Having a search volume period is great, and I would say go for it. Even if it's 10, 20, 50 search volume, there is a search volume for that phrase, do it, make the page. If it aligns with your product, because we're going to talk about what happens when you don't do that. But industry pages have a median of 745 words. That's fantastic. That means there's not a lot of content that you have to go on that page, not a lot you have to pay, you know, like copywriters, designers. There's still rich result opportunities when we're looking at these pages. You're also, you know, a featured snippet, image packs, videos. And so these things are still visible inside the search results page. But probably the most fascinating here is that they need far less referring domains to rank in the top 10. If you have a feature or product page, you need 10 times more to rank in the top 10 results. And so that was very, very important and really big for us, because we also were looking at the cost analysis for the top 10 results. And so with that idea of how many referring domains do you need to rank, depending on your page type or depending on your category, how much would that cost? And so we broke down the cost from a lot of industry experts who've done extensive studies on this. Most of them will say between $250 and $1,000 per backlink. And I think here we have about $625, $650. And then this varies drastically. And what we're including in here is not just like paying for a link. We're paying for the writers to do the guest posts. You're paying for the platforms that you have to be on. You know, if you have email tools for outreach, the workers that you have to hire, the collaborations that you're making. There's a lot of different things that go into building links. And so a lot of times in SEO, we're talking about that cost of the content. You have to pay someone to write, you have to pay a copywriter, you have to pay designers. Well, you also have to put in the work to get those backlinks. And so I think it's really important to show this, to say, hey, we need far less referring domains to rank a solution or industry page, and it's going to be a lot cheaper. If you're in content marketing, I'm so sorry. It's probably the most competitive, naturally, you know, due to the nature of content marketing and all the content marketers in it. $141,000 estimated cost to rank in the top 10. You need 226 referring domains for their product or industry pages. So definitely something to be thinking about when you're strategizing those pages. An example of people who are ranking that are ranking with a few referring domains, we have Tableau's industry page, 4 referring domains, also only 600 words. That was for pharmaceutical analytics. Very specific, very high intent. They know exactly who they're speaking to, and they're offering it to them, you know, exactly in the way that they need and they want. And so there's a lot of value in that. Happy Fox solution page, 1 referring domain. Once again, 636 words, it's nothing. And so there are definitely quiet spaces out there. Zoho's industry page for a SaaS help desk, it's ranked 3rd, 0 referring domains. Maybe they've gathered a few cents, but definitely at the time, I think this was in June when I looked at some of these numbers, and that was 0. Ranking in the 3rd position. It's great. So we looked at all this. We looked at some of the data. We looked at the word count, you know, finding those quiet spaces, especially for saving costs, you know, resources, getting budgets cut. We're all dealing with it. Now, if you're going to get all of that together, you know what you're going to do. You got some keywords. You're like, okay, how do I get everyone to align? Well, you need to get everyone to align. You need to come to the table, and everyone has to talk about this. It's going to be SEOs. It's going to be product. It's going to be, you know, the bosses. It's going to be developers. There's going to be everyone and no one at the table at the same time. So the more that you can nail these pages, especially with your product team, with your sales team, you know, anyone managing your customers, the more sustainable those results are going to be. This is one of my favorite examples. I said before, we're going to come back to it. HubSpot, conversation intelligence. As you can see here, it's a keyword that's definitely been exploding from down here, like 200 maybe search volume, to going over 3,000. And so what's interesting for me is the changes that happened here. So back in 2021, this is December 2021, HubSpot released this article or product page, apologies. So the product page, and it was ranked here in the 6th position. And as of this year, it's in the number 1 position. But what stood out to me was that the search results page in 2021 was very informational. This was emerging technology. People were not aware of what is conversation intelligence. And you can see that as there's a featured snippet at the top. Whereas you see now, it's a transactional intent. We see 3 ads at the top, and we'll see HubSpot there, and HubSpot improved. What did they do? Well, they did do some improvements, but overall, they didn't change much. This page has been almost the same. The product screenshots have not changed since 2021. The main headings, the H2s, the H1s, were very slightly altered. The main keywords that were there have been there. What did they do? Updated the design, moved a bit more content above the fold. They added breadcrumbs. They also, at the bottom of the page, there's added element where there's relevant resources. So if they had like an ebook or a blog post that was about conversation intelligence, it's linked there. So following these SEO best practices, aligning across all stakeholders that are involved, we can create these pages that can survive throughout the years. An example of where this went wrong is with Lattice. So Lattice did an enterprise HR software page. This was in June 2023, ended up on my list. And I never thought anything about it. It was like, okay, it's ranking, cool. I didn't really actually realize personally at the time that Lattice they're not known for enterprise software, for offering enterprise solution. And so while they got lucky last year, they were ranking in the top. The page itself was very vague. It was very interesting that it was ranked there, and it has since changed, and you can look through it. You can see the changes that they made. I was curious if it was a matter of the content changing on the page to cause it to lose the keyword completely. So it lost it. It's gone. And after investigating everything, there's multiple reasons why. So one, definitely messaging. The messaging on that page had nothing to do with an enterprise solution. Second part of this is that Lattice isn't on other websites. They're not on G2. They're not on People Managing People, Capterra, listed as an enterprise solution. If you look it up for enterprise solution for HR, that's not even an option that comes up. So you'll see here on the right, the circled ADP Workday, they offer enterprise solutions. The Workday, that's a new link. You can see that search is getting a bit smarter. It's picking up these things. We're going to come back to this, how everyone talks about you and how important this is to get your pages to rank. And so if you go on to G2 or Capterra and look up ADP or Workday, it's going to say that they have enterprise solutions, but not for Lattice. So how are you going to get this buy-in? I swear by keyword mapping. Keyword mapping is my favorite thing to do with every client I work with. So what I do is I break down all of their bottom of funnel pages. We're going to have, their product pages, feature pages, industry, use case, integration, competitor, all of it. I want to know what are all those pages that are helping people either at the very bottom of the stage move to, booking a demo call or to make a purchase. And how can I use that to reverse then creating all the content to support that as a cluster? So instead of saying, well, okay, we offer workforce management. So workforce management is our topic, and that's the only thing we're going to write about. It's that we could break it down to specific things. So workforce management for who? So when we're looking at the industry page, like electrical software for businesses, software for electricians, we're looking at HR solutions for construction, we're looking at team scheduling, we're looking at, AI caption generators. They're very specific. So thinking about specifically who are those people, what are the language that they're using in search, what are your customers using, how does product talk about it, how do you talk about your product, and trying to find a place that you can all agree, this is how we talk about this product, this is how we want, and this is how other people are talking about our product. We agree on these words and then build a strategy from that. I could probably spend an hour talking about keyword mapping. It's definitely a difficult process. It can take time. I think that I'm in this process for close to a year with some clients because it takes a lot of negotiation, and that's fine. You cannot fix all your product pages in one go. If you're interested in the template that I created, we also have this on our website. Click on resources and you will find it there for you. So kind of getting towards the end here, we're going to talk about benchmarking against your product category. I see a lot of data these days talking about your industry, and I see, oh, here's SaaS data, here's for the SaaS industry, here's for software, here's for software. Well, software is massive. I mean, I'm only looking at 5 different categories here, and there's probably thousands more. So this is my advice to all of you, that while you can use those some of those those breakdowns for looking at data. Also look at your product category. Look at what they're doing. See how long the content is. Where are they getting their backlinks from? How are they talking about the product? There's no need, if you're in HR software, to be looking, to content marketing and saying, oh, we're going to need that many backlinks. But if you were grouping this all together and saying, yeah, everybody in SaaS, let's put all of this together, well, that's not meaningful data. So this is why I keep talking about breaking down the data by categories, breaking it down by pages, and trying to see what are those nuances and what are those differences. Sorry to say, the median referring domains across these product categories is very different. And then we can also see here the median of keywords. This is measured from Ahrefs. Yeah, content marketing, they have a lot of keywords in their content. Their content's a bit longer. It's a bit more keyword rich. And so try to compare yourself and benchmark yourself across your product categories. Now, the fun bit, I am going to take a sip of water. I don't know if there's any immediate questions or something. Just drop them in the chat. So, strategizing for AI overview. I think these last 4 points we're going to be talking about is probably the hot topic of the moment. Search has changed. Search has changed, unfortunately, for good. And you might have noticed this, especially if you are in the US or some of the countries where AI overview has rolled out. It's rolled out to a handful of random countries at the time, primarily in the States. What happens is you will see a box above, right below your search box, right above all the results, above paid, above featured snippet, is going to be your AI overview, previously called the search generative experience. And so what, unfortunately, that does for SEOs is that it shoves our content further down the page than it already is. When I first started looking at the data and the landing pages that I was looking at, SGE was announced. And so earlier this year, I was like, okay, let's take all those keywords and let's test it. So I manually tested keywords to see how often it would appear. And for our bottom of funnel keywords, 64% of the time it appeared. I almost had a meltdown. Thankfully, by mid-2024, tested it again with AI overview, and it was 7% of queries. Excuse me. So I was very, very happy to see, 64 to 7%. And I am happy to say that that number is pretty consistent with a lot of other research that I've done and others have done. Shout out again. I can't stop researching things. Did another study this June, looking at keywords in HR and workforce management with collaboration with ZipTime. Highly recommend them for your AI overview. So I wanted to know, is the 7% correct? We grew our keyword list out to almost 5,000 keywords. I hand labeled them, is it bottom of funnel, comparative, free, top of funnel. There's a lot of nuances between some of those comparative and the free and bottom of funnel. That can be for another day. But my main takeaway, which I really want to share with you guys, is that bottom of funnel from this keyword set had 5% of the time had AI overview. Compared to your top of funnel keywords, which are about 24%, which is incredibly high. And with numbers that high for your top of funnel terms, I'm going to say anticipate that you will be losing traffic in the next year or so. Because just similarly to how the featured snippet took away a portion of traffic, you're going to see that happening with the AI overview, especially if you were writing glossaries, what is post, very top of funnel, very basic terms. You're probably going to see that traffic slowly disappear. Just another slide to show that how often does it appear. I will share these slides with you guys later. Another thing that we looked at, this is inside ZipTime, you can see, so top of funnel keywords, there was far more diversity in the search results than there were in the AI overview. What do I mean by this? Well, there was only few sources that Google seemed to trust to include in AI overview as a citation. And I think there was a few new studies that came out in the last week or two that kind of confirmed this. So be aware that those top of funnel keywords, you're going to have a better chance ranking in the search results, but you might be losing some traffic there. So if you're going for the bottom of funnel keywords, there's definitely more diversity in the AI overview. Doesn't appear as much, but there's more diversity when it does. Also kind of looked at different the keyword set that we had. We broke it down. You know me, I can't sit still with just seeing, the search intent of those keywords. I wanted to know how many words in the keyword did it affect if AI overview appeared. We can see here that there's nothing in there that's like, oh my gosh, this is going to make or break your strategy. When we looked at keyword difficulty, the higher the keyword difficulty, the less likely. I will say, I think this is due to our data being slightly skewed to the point where a lot of our transactional terms were highly difficult. So I would be curious to see this with other data sets. And likelihood across keyword volumes. Keyword volume doesn't really seem to play a role in the appearance of AI overview. So that's great news. Just the chart I just showed before, this I think is the biggest takeaway. Your top of funnel, it's gonna get hit. Bottom of funnel, bit safer there, but you definitely have a lot of work to do. Because now with AI overview, we need to worry about turning our brand into an entity. Probably should have left that a little longer. Turn your brand into an entity. Everyone's talking about this, but it's super, super important. Google has been giving us a lot of challenges lately. So SEO has grown beyond, where instead of content and technical and backlinks, everyone's talking about digital PR and we're talking about brand. It is very, very important to have brand alignment across all of these. And so when I say become an entity, you want to become a uniquely identifiable object or thing. You're a brand. In this case, if you're looking at Wikipedia or Wikidata, you can see different entities. In search, this is what it looks like. An example from where I am in Slovenia, Lake Bled. When you look up Lake Bled in Google, you'll see all these little things on the right and at the top. And this is just showing you that this is an entity and Lake Bled is Lake Bled. This is the one. And so how do we do that? We do that through structured data. Won't go into detail, but we're going to add this to your site, especially organizational schema to your homepage is going to help Google identify who you are. We want to help Google and help LLMs because creating a knowledge graph is a lot of work. So you want to make sure that your website is connecting to all of your other platforms, your YouTube channel, your LinkedIn page, your Crunchbase profile, your G2 listing. You want your logo to be the same. You want your brand to be written the same way. You want consistency across. And you want to be able to include this in your schema to say, hey, this is us here, this is us here, and this is us here. And so we just help along those models to understand how do we fit inside their understanding of entities and knowledge graphs. And so this is just explaining, we have web properties, your social properties, third-party review sites, media appearances, forums, and user-generated content. I highly recommend searching your brand on Reddit. I have seen a lot of my clients popping up on Reddit more and more, especially since there has been more links inside search results for that. And so just an example, MailChimp. When you see MailChimp on different websites, you know exactly who it is. They're using the same language to talk about it. There's consistency. Controlling the AI overview narrative. This is something that you definitely want to be doing. So other than adding your organizational schema, building your brand, building your entity, how does AI learn about you? So there's one element of saying, hey, I am me. But there's another element which you might notice. If you search in different brands inside AI overview or different AI platforms, you're going to see that not only are there some branded links in there, but there's other links. So an example from one of our clients, BetterWorks, you will see that highlighted here is a Tech Target article. And so what we noticed is that a lot of these responses in AI overview are from how other people are talking about you, which really makes sense. So I asked in this case about job management software for electricians. It gave me some options. There's 9 links in that carousel. 0 of them are branded. So all the citations for this response were from other people talking about these brands, not them talking about themselves. And so this is a very important aspect of controlling that narrative. Another example, inside Copilot, 5 links in that source, only 1 of them is branded. So these models are highly, highly leaning on how others speak about you. And oftentimes this is your competitors. It's in those listicles. It's not enough for search to know that you're an entity, but it needs other recommendations. So just like people need recommendations from different sources, so does AI, so does Google. And so we want to get all of these different sources mentioning us in different ways to help, improve the brand awareness and the way that we're perceived. So there's a lot of things here, but our last point is to plan and adapt, which sounds quite generic, but I promise this is something that I see a lot of people trip up. SEO flourishes in a very open mindset, I believe. There's always going to be updates. We can constantly tweak our content. It's a very unique platform for content distribution. And in that, we can continue to improve the pages that we have published. Also, it's very difficult when we're faced with a lot of Google updates. As you can see from the last 2 years, it has not been fun. But things continue to change. For the first time ever, Microsoft cites, so this is meaning Bing, is growing in their share of search in the US, whereas Google is slightly dropping. We can see everyone has been talking about ChatGPT hit 100 million users in just 2 months. When you're looking at other platforms, the adoption of AI has been incredibly interesting and very fast. And what that has done has created a very, very complex search landscape. And I think understanding where you can focus your efforts and how you can best do this. And I really believe that keeping that consistency, owning your brand, and being very careful about the way that it's talked about, trying to control that conversation as much as possible is going to make a huge difference. Because search is no longer going on Google. Google has its AI overview. It also has Gemini. If you're buying like new Samsung phones, they have a Gemini built right into it. You push a button and you're talking to it. ChatGPT 4.0 that came out recently. Bing search results has a bit of AI going on. They have Copilot. Bing has search generative experience coming soon, which is very chaotic. There's Perplexity, there's Claude, and these are all giving different answers to the same questions. And I think it's really important to be thinking about this and looking at them and trying to say, okay, where are they getting this information? Tracing that back. Is there a link that somebody wrote about you 10 years ago and it's saying that you are a different product than you actually are today? Well, maybe reaching out to them is worth the effort to get that updated so that you do not get, misclassified inside these AI models. AI is not human. It cannot check this. It doesn't know better. It's going off of what it's read. And so that's a big danger. We'll say, take it with a grain of salt, but I do think that AI platforms are very, very important for search. They're going to be really important for decision-making moving forward. As we can see, Google is still the top, that's the top search for the moment, but there is a growing presence of AI sites. And this is something that you can do. You can use Looker Studio or Explore reports inside GA4 by using the regex contains to filter for referral traffic from these AI platforms. Here is just an example, so you can see the page refer, how many sessions you're getting from those platforms. You probably are getting traffic from those platforms. I don't think I've seen a website that isn't at this point. Bonus tip from me, you can add a second dimension inside if you're on Looker Studio for landing pages, or you can add in conversions. So you can see in some cases, which of these platforms is driving traffic to which pages. And yeah, there's a lot of bottom of funnel content that is being linked to. And I think it's definitely something I'll probably be talking about for the next year. But I think preparing yourself with this data understanding what's going on, knowing that Google is still the most important. I mean, Google is providing, I think it's 63% of clicks on the internet. It's not going anywhere. But being ready, understanding these platforms and how it's going to transform the way that the internet is understood and the way it's organized is going to be very, very valuable. So yeah, just a reminder to kind of think about SEO and its elements and how they go together, and that the consistency of that, of your branding, how you're talking about your brand, you know, how you're talking about your product is very, very important. It's a lot of information, a lot of different learnings that I've had from multiple research studies in the last few years. So just to kind of like put it into like a little bow here, word count matters less than you think. You can write short content. If you can write it to the point, you provide the information that's needed, there's no need for fluff. No one has time and no one wants to read it. Find the quiet spaces. There are so many quiet spaces. I love to find them. I think it's just a fun challenge, but they are out there, I promise. There's other ways to talk about your product that you're probably not even realizing to reach people who don't know about you. Being very mindful about finding those spaces, because referring domains cost a lot of money. Getting your message alignment between all stakeholders is going to be so, so important. Nailing those pages in the first go and being able to just incrementally improve them over time is going to make a massive difference. So use your keyword mapping, use this presentation, use the data that I shared to get your stakeholder buy-in. Say, hey, look, this is the roadmap. This is what we can do. Here's the search volume, and this is what we need to rank this page. And don't forget that you should benchmark yourself against your product category. Thinking about your brand, strategizing for AI. I mean, AI isn't going anywhere. AI overview is here, it's in search. So turn your brand into an entity, start doing branded outreach, you know, improve those linked or unlinked brand mentions so that AI will talk about you more positively, and just stay calm and plan and adapt. I mean, we're gonna adapt probably every day, every hour. That's life, that's SEO. And I think that's the fun part. So yeah, that's kind of everything. I did it faster than I thought I would, so that's cool. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Helene. That was really interesting. A lot of examples, a lot of data, so our viewers should be really satisfied. So we've prepared a dozen questions for you. Some of which will probably be related to your presentation, but I think that's okay. So besides that, I encourage you guys to ask questions in the comments. We'll try to ask some of them during the webinar. The rest will be answered by Helene in the comment section later. At least that's what she promised. Yeah, so let's begin with the first question. Traditionally, businesses target actively buying audience through PPC, while customers at other stages of the customer journey through organic search, but PPC campaigns got quite expensive. How can we address the actively buying through organic search?
By creating variations of product pages, adding in, you know, new verticals, new industries, use cases. Your product is not just a feature. I mean, people are using it, and you can talk about it in a way of how people use it, what teams are using it, and what size of companies are using it. So there's lots of different ways to talk about your product, and a lot of people get afraid about making those pages. They're like, oh, we can make it for PPC. It's not going to be indexed. It's okay. But there's nothing wrong with creating these pages, even for organic. And if they don't work out, you can pivot. You can delete them. There's no shame. We can create as many pages as we want and remove them. So I definitely say, try to find new ways. Even start with like customer interviews, talk to your sales team, and see like, how are people approaching this on a sales call? What kind of language are they using? What kind of problems do they have? What solutions are they trying to solve? And you'll find a lot of really interesting ways to make pages.
Okay, so be open-minded and patient across the whole process. Okay, so the next question is pretty general, but I think it's fundamental. how do you define a transactional landing page? From your point of
Transactional
view.
landing page. Yeah. So for me, a transactional landing page would be any page that somebody is either purchasing or maybe scheduling a demo call in more of a sales-led software situation. So if it's a page where somebody is planning on making a purchase there, you know, a feature page, industry, solution, use case, integration, competitors, I would call all of those transactional in a way. Some may call those like more middle of funnel, but I think that they can be very transactional pages. If someone wants to know, do you have a QuickBook, oh my gosh, integration? That might be a make or break on that, on using that software. And so these are really, really valuable pages that they might have smaller search volume, but they have really high intent.
Okay, yeah. They high intent, and that's the really interesting and important in terms of dealing with that kind of pages for sure. So the next one, what do people struggle with when trying to rank high with a landing page, or are there any myths along landing pages people believe?
Yeah, I think some people struggle by writing too much content. I've seen a lot of software brands think that because they're trying to rank a landing page that they need to have an FAQ. They need to have the traditional setup like a blog. Even on a page that will be like time tracking software, the first H2 will be like, what is time tracking software? Do not insult people. They're buying it. That's a transactional page. So you don't need that. You don't need generic questions. So if you are adding, for example, frequently asked questions to your feature page, talk to your sales team. What are people actually asking about your product? Those are the things. Don't go to ChatGPT or wherever to like find these questions that you think people are asking. If you have a company and you're actively making sales, you know exactly the questions that people have. So I think being very intentional, meeting that user intent and not insulting your readers. They don't want to read 1,000, 2,000 words. They want to buy.
Yeah, so if we have a query with a strong intention, we don't, let's not explain the intention to the client once again.
Yeah.
Okay. So the important question from my point of view. So what about a number of referring domains? That's something that you found really relevant in your research, because that was a really interesting thing across your presentation. So so I will. I need to hear more about it from you.
Sure. Yeah. I think the referring domains was something that was a bit shocking. It's not something that I initially thought I was going to find anything interesting until I saw the stark difference between feature pages and other pages, or between categories. And it got me thinking, wow, how much is it to get these many backlinks? Because I know working in an agency, it's not the easiest to get backlinks to a product page. People do not want to give you backlinks to your feature pages where you're going to make money. I mean, it's a new challenge. So I definitely found that to be a really interesting aspect of it. And that it's a way that either can, maybe you think that it's going to be a really easy win, but then you realize that you're competing against people with so many referring domains that they've collected over the years. That's probably when they have to come to you guys to get a little bit of a head start.
Yeah, that's a process, but the history is the thing that you won't buy. So yeah, this is the long process. But on some of your slides, you show estimated backlinks value on average. It's around $600 per link. And how did you get these numbers?
We got this through combining different research. I think Ahrefs did a report recently and a few others. And then we also did an internal analysis on how much it cost based on, the hours you have to pay people to do the work, the writers that we have, all the software that we have to pay for. I mean, all of this, people forget about it. They're like, oh yeah, you just send an email and then you get a link. No, that's not how it works. It's a whole amount of resources that if you don't have it, you have to consider that cost. It's not just a link.
Yeah. Okay, so a quite related question to the to this one is, what about backlink gap analysis? Are you using any tools or something to do that, or you do it just manually?
I didn't do any backlink gap analysis in this, due to the fact that I took keywords and picked one ranking page. So I would pick one page from each of those keywords. But I think maybe it would be interesting to see if you took a subset of that data and performed a backlink gap analysis. Maybe it's something we can do in the future for some research. But yeah, I think that could be an interesting element. Do you have any insights on what that could do to help rank those pages?
It's from my point of view, it's a really good starting point when we are comparing websites to your rivals. So in our platform, even basically every client is able to use our backlink gap analysis tool, when you can see where your competitors appear, but also access the estimated value of whole link profile, both yours and your competitors. So it's good starting point to start thinking about the scale and the potentially a scale of campaign and the cost of it. So I think this is something really really important from my point of view. So another common myth is that landing pages needs lots of text to rank high, and your research busts that completely. And so can you explain your findings and how exactly you research it? Because it's a myth, but your presentation shows something completely different.
Yeah. This is definitely a hard one for data gathering. If you've done anything with word count on pages, every single platform will give you a completely different number. So I had to just stick with one and compare. And then I went through and looked at some of the pages, double checked to see okay, is it at least within some margin of error? But yeah, we just used Screaming Frog for a lot of stuff. So for gathering the data, it was either Screaming Frog, Ahrefs, or manually me going through and reading all the pages. There's a lot of manual data gathering in this project.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work. So I don't know how many hours you're working during the day, but no, I won't ask. So one of the techniques that I saw you recommend is using non-branded keywords to rank high, and this is especially useful for emerging brands that do not have the following or client loyalty yet. So can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, the keyword mapping template that I shared, I think, is probably the best place to start thinking about, as I said, how are people talking about your product? How do they talk about it? How do your competitors talk about it? How are people leaving reviews on, even go to G2 and look at how people are reviewing your competitors, reviewing you. See how people are, the language they're using. I love interviewing as a technique. Coming from an anthropological background, I'm really into qualitative data as well as quantitative. But I definitely think even interviews, going over sales calls are recorded, you can find a lot of valuable information. But even just sitting down with product SEO, someone in the marketing, and just say, hey, what makes sense here? And just having lots and lots of conversations until everyone is like, yes.
Okay.
It's not the easiest. It's definitely one of the hardest SEO tasks to do, but highly recommend it.
Okay. Good thing to hear. So What about the search intent? This is really a really good topic to talk about. How do you align your keyword strategy with the user is actually looking for? Yeah, pretty general, but I think it's a good question, and I'm really interested in that topic.
Sure. It definitely, like I said, starts with keyword mapping. So that's your bottom, as your bottom of funnel, and then work your way backwards. Use those transactional pages as your hub of your cluster. I like to think about this. So we want to create pages to support each of those feature pages. So if you're going to have your feature page on scheduling, do you have a case study on how you've helped a business with scheduling? Do you have an ebook about scheduling, or a webinar? How many blog posts do you have about it? Like, are you coming at it at different topics, but are not just to publish for the sake of publishing, but have you seen how others are talking about that in your industry? And so I think that, like, studying the culture of people who you believe will be using your product is important. Going to forums where HR professionals are chatting, go to webinars where they're talking about stuff, and learning and becoming an expert in that field is going to make that whole thing a lot easier.
Okay, so comprehensive approach to the topic will help in that whole thing. Okay, so what about the Google's AI overview? Is that a threat to transactional pages? It varies widely and it's constantly changing. So what do you think about that?
I think it's going to be good for now. The research we've done, it's at 5%. I believe a few other research points were dropped in the last couple of weeks, and it's about the same. I don't think anybody has seen over 8% for bottom of funnel keywords, transactional keywords. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I think that was a massive mistake that was rolled back. And I'm very, very happy to see that, because yeah, it's already hard enough.
So do you see any immediate areas where you could leverage AI for transactional page optimization?
Yeah, definitely. As I was showing, where you can track the referral traffic, most of my clients have done this in the last month or so. I think all of them, if they receive referral traffic from these platforms, we're going to landing pages. So yes, 100%, you should be ranking your page as well in Google. This is going to help it appear in AI overview. If there is an AI overview, getting mentioned, getting links, just talking about it. And so having this surround sound SEO going on can really, really help leverage, appearing in AI, because ideally we'd want to do that. If people aren't using Google and they're using ChatGPT, then I want to appear there.
Yeah, so another question related to that, you mentioned about ChatGPT. So what can we do to appear not only in Google search, but also in ChatGPT, Gemini, etc.?
We need a lot of outreach. I see that outreach is probably the most important here. Backlinks, mentions, digital PR. It's not just the latest buzzwords in SEO. It's actually what's going on and how ChatGPT, Gemini, how LLMs work, how they understand data, how they can read data. And so the more you learn about this and try to understand, you'll see that we need those citations. You need people to be talking about you positively and in a good light. You got to appear in the listicles. If your competitor is writing about the top 10 onboarding software and you're not in there, that's a miss. You got to get in there. Before a couple of years ago, I'd say, who cares? But now this is very, very important when it comes to appearing in ChatGPT and Gemini.
Yeah, so there is no easy way. So let's build the brand and authority of your website, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question, as we are approaching the end of the year here, what are the trends you see that can affect ranking for transactional pages in 25, and what to keep in mind?
Can affect ranking for interesting one. I think a lot of the things that I've shared today are still pretty much true. We do have to be mindful about, AI overview showing up. You do want to show up in as many of those AI models as possible, but I think don't obsess over this. I would say create your page to make high quality content for your users. Do not try to create it for SEO. I literally tell everyone, do not create this for SEO. I do not want to hear you say I'm shoving a keyword somewhere. Like, I don't want to hear it. This product page should still be for the product and for the users, but we can still leverage SEO as a distribution channel. So I think being very mindful and intentional about that is going to help you rank that page, which is then going to help you do the other things around that.
Okay, so role of branding becoming more and more important. Why should we focus on that?
So that when I say I'm Helene Jelens on the internet, that everyone knows who they're talking about. Fortunately, I'm the only one in the world with this name, so I don't have trouble with my personal branding. But if you have a brand name like Beekeeper, we have a client named Beekeeper. That is a very unfortunate brand name, because if someone is looking at Beekeeper on Google, maybe they're thinking about beekeeping, the events. I think there's also a movie called this. So different things can come up, and those are all the same. They're all entities called Beekeeper, but they're different things. And so these models are trying to understand this and trying to understand, okay, if someone's talking about it in this context, which Beekeeper is it? And so it'll know, okay, we're talking about the software. Okay, it must be this one. And so you want to be very careful about your branding and saying like, hey, this is us, this is who we are. So also when users go to read reviews on Capterra, is your logo matching? If it's not matching, like they're going to be like, is this the right company? Are they still updating? Are they active? So I think branding is really, really important.
Yeah, a really important thing when creating your brand, name it uniquely. So another question, and this is really a really tough one, but I think it's important for many our viewers. How to get a buy-in from stakeholders who, as we both know, might be skeptical a bit, or maybe a bit more.
Show them this presentation.
Okay.
I think some of the examples in there are definitely gonna cause them to think, okay, maybe there's potential, but doing the keyword mapping, finding the keywords and sort of mapping that out, saying, hey, it's not a big commitment. This is just like one page. Let's do a test. And if it works, you do one page with minimum resources, and then you've tested it. You don't have to launch like 20 new pages at once. That is going to be difficult. But I think doing one at a time, picking something that you think is going to be high value, it has good keywords, their search volume, you can compete for it. I'd say go for that. Do a test run, do an experiment, show them the results.
And let's pray that this one-page test works.
It will.
Yeah. Okay. So the very last general question from us, besides the Q&A ones, the question is landing page optimization, 3 must-dos.
Mention your keyword in the title and the meta description. You'll be absolutely shocked how many do not, even if they are trying to rank for them. In my data set was a shocking number of people that did not mention it. I will have to get some permission to release data, but I've definitely experimented with this and saw that adding the keyword in the title and the meta description would definitely boost you. So that's one thing. Align it with product and sales. Like, please, 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 please. And show your product. I know it's not really an optimizing, but those images of your product are very important. People want to see it. We do not want to spend $5,000, $20,000, $30,000 on a product that we've never seen before. So yeah, just being like kind of realistic and realizing that you're also a buyer at one point. What do you want to see when you're shopping, when you're making a decision? So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So let's go to our Q&A. We have a bunch of questions. I will try to go with. Let's go with this for the beginning from our chat. To be honest, thank you, Helene. What do you think about the thing that Zoho's zero backlinks to product page success is strongly connected with over 90 DR and a lot of backlinks to other pages?
Yeah, they definitely benefited from that. But I've seen it in action in other examples. That definitely is an example where Zoho is a massive brand. They have a high DR. And so you expect that they're going to be there, but that's not always the case. I definitely would want to try to find some, I probably have some better examples of this where there's zero. I've ranked companies that have very low DR with companies that have very high DR. It's really just a matter of the content on the page being better. Some of these companies, they're just bashing out pages. I think Zoho and Workday, I don't even know how many product pages they have. These companies are doing this at every angle possible. And so, yeah, some of them are not going to backlink, some will, but you definitely can rank a page with no backlinks.
Yeah, and DR doesn't determine everything. So to be clear,
yeah.
So another question. Where to start? What are the easy wins you should concentrate on? The easy wins topic is really interesting. Also, I'm really curious.
Easy wins. Let's say easy wins with transactional pages. Some of your product pages might already be ranking for the correct, target keywords. Use Search Console, Ahrefs, SEMrush, whatever you're using to see especially Search Console, to see which queries people are using that are landing on your page. Oftentimes, I will find the best keywords there. And when I start working with a new client, I'll see, oh, you're already ranking on, second, third, even fourth page for a very high, transactional keyword. And so, yeah, it's lost my train of thought for a second, but yeah, it's I lost
it. Okay.
I forgot the question. Oh, that's a lot. It's an hour of me talking of SEO, guys. But yeah, try to find your stuff that's ranking on page 2, page 3, and start there. If you don't want to create a new page, if it's ranking there, give it a little bit of SEO love, I like to say, and see what happens.
Okay, it's enough. It's fair enough. So the next one, can I get into rich snippets with a transactional page? What should I do to maximize my chances?
So rich snippets. Depends what kind of rich snippets you're talking about. There's a lot of different things out there. There definitely are some available on transactional pages. It depends what you're talking about. There's far less. But example for software, you could be using reviews. So you can have like the stars, reviews under your product pages. I think that's a fantastic choice. Using price if you have it, which systems that your software works with, is it a web application or mobile? And so these things I think would just give your search result on the whole search result page just a little bit of pizzazz to look, to stand out against others.
Okay, so it depends as always. It depends on the niche, query volume. So yeah, the next one, the last one, I think, maybe not the last one, but one of the last questions. What do you typically see SEO struggle with in terms of positioning B2B SaaS websites? What are the common problems?
This is a big one. They go too broad. I think this is probably more of a personal take at the moment and how I'm seeing software. A lot of software sounds the same as the next. They're definitely in a moment that I call the great consolidation. software is buying software. Definitely, you cannot be it all and you cannot do it all. So I would say, work where you know that you can, you know, what's working well. If all of your clients that love you are florists, but you're talking to like mechanics, what are you doing? Like, you really have to think about your audience and who you actually like care about. Who do you share a language with? Who are you able to provide those solutions that are different from something else? So not everyone is going to make a Bamboo HR. That's a massive software. And so I think those niche options and owning your industry is what is going to set you apart. And that's why I say keyword mapping, having those conversations, having those questions, listen to sales calls, that's going to help you position yourself.
Yeah, it's better to do what you know and what you are expert in. Pretty obvious, but not always. So the next question from Damien. Helene, are you going to Chiang Mai SEO conference?
No, I've been asked many times. No, I do not have plans to go.
Why?
Maybe in. Well, I had just was thinking about it this summer, and it was a bit short notice for me. So I just moved house. Maybe next year I'm gonna have to think about it. But yeah, I hear lots of good things. Are you guys going?
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
You know, this is the same situation. Short trip from Poland and Slovenia to Thailand is a good thing to do in the end of the year. So I highly recommend that type of work in about a month. So think about it, maybe next year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's enough for today. If you do have any other questions, write in the chat. Helene promised to answer them later. And
I will.
Yeah, so I think that's the end of today's webinar. Thank you all for joining us. Remember to leave a like and subscribe to the Linkhouse channel and Helene's LinkedIn profile, of course. And don't forget about our following webinars. We will host another amazing guests, Matt Singer, Kyle Roof, Carl Kangur, Gareth Hoyle, Massimiliano Geraci. You can sign up for the webinars now. And yeah, that's it. So thank you so much, Helen.
Thank you.
And see you soon at conferences or at the next Linkhouse webinars. Bye, guys.
Amazing.
And thank you so much, Helen.
Bye.